So let me start with acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we are on, the Wurundjeri people here in Melbourne, and also pay my respects to the elders past and present of the culture. And also I want to pay my respects to the elders past and present of all the cultures that all of us here collectively represent from many different countries, many different continents of the world. Welcome aboard, everyone. What we're going to talk about today is leadership excellence. And before I start my presentation, what I would love to get is maybe have 3 to 5 people unmute themselves, and preferably those who haven't spoken yet, and just give me a line or two about why they're here today. What do they think about leadership excellence as a subject matter? What are they here to learn? So anyone who hasn't spoken yet, if you can unmute yourself and give me a few things, and we can cover those towards the end of the session. I'll aim to come back to them. I'm here with my pen and my notebook. Whoever wants to go first. Oh, nobody.
We'll have to volunteer. We'll probably ask Olga and Christina because they didn't get a chance to speak.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Christina, and I'm working as a team leader here in Belgium for Alten, for one of our clients. And well, I'm joining this session because I want to learn more about leadership. I want to be better at my job, so this is my reason.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I've got something to add if I could.
Sure.
I think we're probably at an age or a stage where we need to get over this idea that there are heroic leaders that somehow supposed to take us from a place we think of as inadequate and guide us through the wilderness for 40 years until we end up at the land of milk and honey. And that's sort of been this narrative around leadership for such a long time. I think those days are over, and we need to think of leadership as something that is in the environment around us. Because if you look at the old definition of leaders, everyone's a leader and no one has followers. So it's sort of just the logic didn't make sense. But the idea of leadership where anyone can step up, stand out, make a difference, influence, where it's not sort of tied up with this heroism, it's more tied up in, you know, a stage, a place, a group, an environment.
I love it. That is deep. And I'm making mental notes here to catch up with you afterwards. I want to explore that a bit more. Okay, one more, please.
Well,
Isabel.
Can I speak?
Jenny, please. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I feel when you lead a team, there is always a question from your followers or mentees is like, what's next? At some point of time, you don't even know what's next because you are leading towards a goal or towards a dream, but what is next is yet to discover together. And that's a question that always I'm thinking about. How do I get new tools or new ideas to keep motivating my team? So maybe I will love to get some insights about it.
All right, let's see what we can do with that. All right, guys, so time for me to start my presentation. I was having a bit of trouble with this, as Jyoti knows, so let me move my Zoom around a bit and hopefully I can do it okay then. I'm gonna start presentation mode, go back to Zoom, and then you guys need to see my screen. Is everyone seeing my slide now? Yes. Yeah, I see one thumbs up. I can't see everyone anymore. So I can see Jyoti. Jyoti, you're my eyes and ears now. I'm looking at you every time.
Okay.
There's a question to ask. All right, guys, so this is me. I've cut my teeth in business analysis, project management, and change management in the past. I launched my own practice at the start of this year. It was around March. So I was sort of having a race with COVID. Let's see who goes first. And The pandemic beat me to it, obviously. So my business has been challenging, but things are looking up. And the biggest thing that's happened for me business-wise is my partnership with a group called Schuitema, which you see over here. Now, the way to pronounce that name is Schuitema. It's a Dutch name, and belongs to Esko Schuitema, who I'll talk about shortly. So he has a South African heritage with a Dutch name. Coming back to myself, so the topics that I usually talk about, speak about, and run workshops on are life, leadership, resilience, and change. And in my personal life, I'm married with a very big Pakistani family. In fact, I have my sister here in the group today. She's just one of many. I have two other sisters. And then there's a huge family around that as well, of course, including cousins. I've got two beautiful kids. The things that I love to do, I'm a big fan of history, huge history buff. I love ancient philosophies, and we are legion. Yeah, okay. Maybe. Stop distracting me, Fatma. I love ancient philosophies, and they always show up in the stuff that I write and talk about. Recently, I've been getting into meditation, and it's starting to pay dividends. I'm feeling it now, so I'm becoming an ardent supporter of meditation as well. Haven't had a chance to read fiction in a very long time, but that's fine. It's just that phase in my life. I like to stay fit whenever I can, and I like to go outdoors whenever I can. Okay, so today we're going to talk about leadership excellence, and we'll view it through the model of care and growth. This model is based on research by the guy I spoke about, Esko Schuitema. He's been doing it for a long time. He started doing this in the late 80s to the early 90s in South Africa, specifically in the mining sector, which was a very volatile industry to be in at that time. The country was going through social upheaval, there was apartheid all around, and the mining industry was going through quite a few cultural revolutions. So in his research, he found that there are certain principles of leadership that can be applied universally. I'm just letting someone in. And since from there, it's just grown. It's become a global consultancy with clients in 29 different countries. So there's pretty much a client in every continent. And now there are three offices. The biggest one is in South Africa. And then there's an office in Pakistan. And by the way, Pakistan is my heritage. I'm Pakistani, that's where I'm from. So which is quite cool to see that there's an office of the Schuitema Group in Pakistan. And there's recently, we have an office in Sweden. Now, if you see this star down here, that's actually me. That's me in Australia. And my aspiration, my hope is that in the very near future, I have a yellow badge here to go along with it, to show that we have an office here for Australia and New Zealand. So that's what I'm looking forward to. In terms of clients, the great thing about Schuitema, oh, I've gone too far. Sorry guys, bear with me. Here we go. Schuitema's worked with clients in many different sectors, and these clients come in all shapes and sizes. The Schuitema Group has worked with big mining companies which employ 50,000 people to small retail groups that employ 5 people in their whole organization. So the group has provided services to clients in banking, mining, telecom, retail, manufacturing, you name it. There's something at every level, at any and all levels of business, and Schuitema is able to serve clients there. So before I start, and you can see this this picture of a pie and these 3 bakers, and it's about an analogy that we refer to as Schuitema. But before I get into it, let me stop sharing my screen. What I want to get from everyone, and maybe you guys can put it in the chat group, what do you guys think an organization is? And secondly, why does an organization exist? So my first question to you is, what is your definition of a company? And if you don't feel like chatting, it's fine. You can just unmute yourself and say it. You guys are looking at my shaved head, my bald dome, because I've got you guys in my second screen and I'm looking down at you here. Yeah, thanks, Jyoti. So what's your definition of a company? How would you define it?
And you don't mean 2 is a company, 3 is a crowd kind of a thing, right? The person is
Perfect
known by the
joke.
company he keeps.
Group of like-minded people who come together to reach a common goal or serve a common purpose. Manisha, that is so well written. Fantastic. Group
You
of
also
people.
have, for a greater purpose, a company is a business aimed for profit, group of people trying to move in the same direction.
Yeah. So the theme, the underlying theme I'm seeing here, and rightly so, that it's about a group of people coming together. There's a common purpose. And Vijesh, you hit on this, the others haven't yet, that it is about making a profit as well. That's very important. Back in the day when Schuitema was starting this group, when he asked this question to people, they would always go, it's about profit. That was the go-to response to that question back then. But these days we talk about the triple bottom line. So it's not just the one bottom line, it's the triple bottom line. It's people and the planet and profit. So do something good for people, do something good for the environment or the market around you, and make money out of it. However, I would argue that without profit, the other two aspects cannot be served. So profit is very important. And if profit feels like a dirty word, then we can instead call it surplus. So which brings me to this analogy, this image that you see here on my screen. Oh, I'm not sharing anymore. Hang on. Can you guys all see the pie now? Jyoti, I'm looking at you for a thumbs up.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So here we have a group of 3 bakers who work for a bakery down your local street. And they bake very nice cakes, but they also have families to feed. One's got a wife, the other's got a wife and a few kids. And the third one, he's just got lots of girlfriends, right? And they all want the cake. So these guys, they make the cake and they all take some home for their families, all 3 of them. Whatever they don't take with them gets left behind as a surplus. So in order for the bakery to survive, there has to be a surplus. I think it goes without saying that if these guys start taking out more than what they put in, then there is no surplus. The surplus starts shrinking to a point it vanishes, and the bakery goes bust. So if I go to the next slide, yeah, these guys are taking out their share of the cake. They succeed when they produce a surplus, and if they take out more than what they give in, then there's not much left. So what it means for a group of people, because we've already established that a company is first and foremost a group of people. At the heart of a company, there's a group of people who came together to serve a certain demand in the market, and they shared a common purpose. So for a group of people, a group of peers who sit at the cross-section of any company, in order for them to succeed, it's very important for them to collaborate. If they're unable to collaborate, then there is failure. So success is through collaboration, and failure is when they start competing with each other. And the 3 factors that influence that collaboration are these. Now with these 3, it is important to note that they're not linked with each other. They can live completely independent of the other. And the one that is the biggest factor in a collaborative peer group is a culture of good citizenship. Now, I've had the privilege of growing up in Pakistan for the first half of my life, and now I've spent 17 years here in Australia. So it's almost half and half now. And I can see a very big difference in how the 2 cultures promote individual responsibility towards the greater good. And then I've heard so many good things about cultures like Sweden, and from what I hear, it sounds like Sweden is heads and shoulders above even the culture of Australia. So there are different cultures which promote collaboration much better than others. The second reason, the second big reason to promote collaboration is that overall the group has a benevolent intent. In this context, the benevolent intent means having a higher purpose. So you have a calling to serve a higher purpose for the greater good of the other. The third big reason is the group is well led. So if you don't have the other two, but at least you have a group that is well led, then that will enable you to succeed in under harsh environments. Because people don't work for companies, they work for bosses that they like. They work for bosses that they want to work for. And that's a big recipe for success. I'm going to pause here for a bit, and I'll keep the slide here up on the screen, but I'll keep my eye on the chat group. Guys, give me an example of a good culture for collaboration. And excuse me while I turn my phone off, it's been buzzing.
Do you mean in terms of like attributes or actual companies, or how do you?
Yeah, where have you seen this happening? A good culture for group collaboration?
An actual company, you mean, or an example of if it has happened with us? Because Isabel is saying psychologically safe. I kind of agree with that.
So Isabel, where have you seen that happen?
Maybe right, Jetstar or something, or Virgin Australia, Virgin, you know, with they kind of promote like a happy environment.
Hey, Manisha said that she saw that at DHHS under a great manager. I like that. Yeah, and that's very important, right? Because you need good leaders, good managers to create that environment for teams.
And it could be one where there's a lot of diversity, so that can be gender, but it could also be, well, so many other things, but more importantly, diversity of thought. So again, people feeling psychologically safe to, you know, bring their thoughts to the table, and then knowing that they have the support from their leaders and their managers, whether it be a respectful challenge or to take that further and iterate towards a solution. But I think that diversity of thought, particularly when all organisations are needing to work from a global perspective, is critical to that.
Yeah, and Romy, that is spot on. Have I said your name right? Is it Romy or Romy? How do you pronounce it?
It's Romy. You said it correctly the first time. Yeah.
Romy. Okay. Thank you, Romy. And what I keep hearing with that question is it does go back to leaders enabling that. So when people have to be honest with each other and they have to bring bad news to the leader is open to it. It's so these out of these three reasons, I think there is a slight link between these two. Benevolent intent is very important. So the opposite of benevolent intent is of course malevolent intent. And if I had to pick an example for a group that displays that behavior, having a malevolent intent and still be successful, who's seen that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, with Leonardo DiCaprio? Yep, so a few people have seen it. Yeah, so it was about a group of people coming under a very charismatic figure. They put themselves in something called a boiler room, and they were all day traders, and they started selling penny stocks to unsuspecting people and started fleecing them of their money. And for a while, they were all very successful. If their purpose was to only make money, they made a hell of a lot of money. But the group didn't last for that long, and quite a few of them ended up in jail. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if you look at companies that have survived for a long time, there's a Japanese company that was in business until recently for 1,600 years. It was a family-owned business by the name of Kongo Gumi in Japan, and for 1,600 years they were building Buddhist temples. It started with Korean immigrants to Japan all the way back then, and it's just stayed in business. So their benevolent intent was just so strong that it kept them going for so long. Now I'm going to go back to the slide and move to the next phase.
Hey, Anita had her hand raised. Do you want to just check in?
Yeah, sorry, I missed that, Anita, because I can't see everyone anymore. Let me stop sharing. And Anita, ask away. If you have
no, it was nothing. I think I was just playing with the options here because I'm on the mobile, so it's just a bit different compared to normal Zoom on the computer. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, back to sharing. Which one is it? All right. So when we talk about leadership excellence, it's important to question what does the word leadership mean to everyone. When this question is asked, this is the sort of response we usually get. And what I want to do is ask this question to you guys as well. So there's about 20 of us in this group. What I want to do is bring up the Zoom here, and guys, feel free to unmute yourself. I'm going to write down what you give to me. I'll be your scribe. Tell me what you think leadership means. What does it mean to you?
Someone who cares for me, listens to me.
Okay.
Oh, coming off from Andrew's scarf model is fair to me. Thanks, Andrew.
Right.
Has I found it that leadership is about the activity, not the role, as opposed to management or authority. So it's about people who just take the lead, take the action, and not given it.
So it's about the activity, not the role.
Yes, there's a proactive aspect to it.
Okay, so it's as opposed to management.
It's not about the authority which comes with management. I'm the manager, then you do what I say. It's about people who see that there is the need for action and they're focused on the activity, not on the prestige or the role or the definition.
I like that. So it's not the authority that comes with management or with rank.
There's an element of creating some sort of future state and enlisting people into the motivation to join, to be a part of that future state that is above and beyond that process thing. So it's that vision is the word I guess I'm pulling out, but I just don't want to cliche with vision. It's that really good leaders create a future option that excite people and that people want to be a part of.
Totally. I think for me, when I think of leaders, I think of truly good leaders are servant leaders. You know, it's less about I won't do anything that, you know, I'm not asking you to do anything that I won't do myself, and that to me, that's how you really create that trust and that respect. And that's when you create followers, is when you're a leader that can talk or walk the walk that you're talking.
Walk the walk, okay. And talk the talk.
You have quite a few in chat as well, Has. Do you want me to read those or?
Clear guidance and motivation. Let me copy paste that. Wow, I'm getting quite a few. So I may not get each and every one of these now. Someone who's inspiring and can give great direction and make a safe environment for everyone to bring up ideas. Okay.
To me, leadership has a lot to do with courage, because it takes a lot of courage to do the right thing, right? And not take the easy way out. It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to say that, oh, I have done something wrong. You know, I need to do things differently.
Yeah.
So I think courage and leadership really go hand in hand.
Courage. Okay, so leadership for you is courage primarily. Fatma says, someone who understands how to get the best out of people regardless of different communication styles and personalities, etc. And Vijay, I'm sorry I missed yours. Let's get to yours in just a second. Okay, Vijay, give me yours. Let the team walk in front and let the leader follow. Okay, that's nice. Nice way to put it.
Just one more if I can throw one in there. Thinking of the great leaders, they're really good communicators. There's this element of being the way that you build motivation and some sort of vision is through the art of storytelling, story of the future. But this the great leaders are great communicators, even if they struggle to articulate. Elon Musk is terrible to listen to as a speaker, but still evokes a sense of communication and vision for what he wants to achieve. Other people are just brilliant orators. Think of Obama as an example of his ability to speak and enlist the moral good, the moral right, if that makes sense. Not the right and left, but you know, the right thing to do. Yeah, inspiring. Yeah, thank you.
Inspiring.
So my dad worked in Indian Navy, so he was soldier for 35 odd years. It'll be interesting to see what's his definition of leaders. And I know you can't type and chat, so if you want to just come off mute and tell me what does a good leader means to you, Dad? Quality of a good leader. You're on mute. Yep.
Well, I'm Lieutenant Rajendra Kumar from India.
Welcome.
I was in Indian Navy for 36 years. And I can say something regarding military leadership. Is different than outside world.
Okay.
Military leadership is more disciplined. And here we have to take everybody along and to achieve the target. Whereas outside world, leadership may be different than what I had experienced in 36 years. So I would like to know more about civil leadership now, because after retirement, I need to settle down in outside world. So here the discipline, the anger will not be of any use.
Right, okay.
That's it.
And yeah, look, I know what you're saying because my dad was in the army, so I know what that world of being.
That was very nice.
It's a different world. It literally is.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I've got I don't know how many. I've got lots and lots of points here. Let me share my screen with you again. I'm going to turn on presentation mode. Move this down here. Back to Zoom first. Could I ask everyone to mute themselves, please, for now? Okay. These are the words that you guys have given me. Are we feeling confident that this is how we understand leadership, what our definition of the word is? Yep. Something in the chat box, hang on. I often consider leadership as a glue, as it should be willing to be the glue to fill whatever gaps shown in their team's plans, etc. Yeah. Now, considering with all of these ways of defining leadership, would it be fair to say that leadership is about achieving results through people? Would we agree on that? Holly,
sounds about right.
Okay, sounds right. Yeah, guys, leadership is about achieving results through people. Okay, good. How would you like it if I told you that my whole purpose of being here today is to convince you that it's not right, to convince you that it's actually the opposite case? And I'm going to give you a reason of why. So if leadership is about achieving a result through people, you are in the business of creating takers, not givers. And takers will ultimately take what they need for themselves, and they will not have any regard to the surplus of your organization. If you want to create givers, you have to change your view on leadership. You have to turn this notion on its head. So for me to convince you, let's run a thought experiment. Let's say we've got two people named Fred and Joe, and they need to do something. So I go to Fred, and these are Edge Code's words, right? So that's why the 1980 shows up. He's showing you guys his age. I would change that to just saying, hey, Fred, back in the day, I did something that you have to do right now, and it worked back then, so just go and do it. To Joe, I go, Joe, back in the day, I had to do something that you have to do right now, and it worked quite well. I think you should consider it. Have a look. Now, in these cases between Fred and Joe, and I know I've given the joke away, the punchline, but who do you think wants to do it, and who do you think will do it because they would like to? Sorry, who do you think has to do it, and who will do it because they want to? Fred or Joe?
Joe.
Yeah. So it's clear that Fred would have to do it because he's been told by his boss, which is me in this case. And Joe will do it because he wants to do it, because of the way I've given him the task. So it's a question of means and ends. If you look at Fred, the end was the job. I want Fred to do that job, and I want him to do it exactly the way I tell him to. And my means is that person. My means to get that job done is Fred in the first scenario. In the second scenario, Lucky Joe, my means is the job. My end goal is the growth of Joe. I want Joe because I'm relaxing my control. I'm letting go of the outcome. I'm leaving it up to Joe to do the right thing. I'm giving him all the guidance he needs, but it's up to Joe to get the result the way it's meant to be. I'm not micromanaging Joe. So that means I'm relaxing my control. I'm letting it go. So obviously we want to be on the Joe side of things, because when we give these directions to Fred, we're creating a taker out of Fred. Fred will only do what is enough, what is necessary to get the job done, and nothing more. But in Joe's case, it's much more likely that he will go above and beyond the line, above and beyond the contractual agreement that I have with him to do the right thing and help the company grow. So going back to the notion of leadership being all about achieving a result through people, out of these two interactions, Fred or Joe, which one do you think it applies to?
Joe?
I mean, it could apply to both, actually.
Not,
because if Joe chooses to do the job the way you did it before, you still get that same end result. Even if he chooses to do it a different way, you still get the end result that he's going to do what he's going to do.
in Joe's case, though, I'm not worried about the result. I'm more worried about Joe. For me, the result is the growth of Joe. And I'm using the job as that means. Whereas in Fred's case, I want the results. My whole focus is on getting the results. To me, Fred is a resource. There's that word again. He is a human resource that I'm using to get that result. So the notion of leadership being all about achieving a result through people, I would suggest that it applies to the Fred interaction, because I am using Fred to get the result that I want. In Joe's case, I'm doing the exact opposite. So talking about turning the notion on its head, in order for us to be consistent with the Joe interaction, we would have to start saying that leadership is about achieving people through results. Now, this is where it starts to stop sounding like English. But the intent behind that statement is that as a leader, your focus needs to be about the care and growth of your subordinates. The results are secondary. If you look after the care and growth of your subordinates, people like Joe and people like Fred, the results will look after themselves. And the best analogy, and again, we believe strongly in analogies at the Schuitema Group, a leader is very much like a coach. So a coach is all about growing the players so that they can go and win the game. A coach isn't there on the playing field to win the game. The coach is there to develop the players, to harness their potential so that they can go out there and win the game. It's the player's job to win the game, not the coach's job to win the game. The coach is, of course, highly invested. They're looking at the playing field. They're looking at the scoreboard. They're looking at what's going on. But they're not there to win the game. They are there to grow the players, to care for and grow the players. So the coach does not use the player to get a job done and achieve a result. They use the result as a means to enable the player. That's how the care and growth model works. Any questions at this stage? Let me stop sharing.
Can I just ask a quick question, Has?
Yes, you can, because I invited questions. Go for it.
Thanks, Has. So my question would be in the more sort of, I wouldn't say practical scenario, but let's say, you know, if you work in the organization where your manager is sort of more like a coach and focuses, you know, a lot on the outcome and, you know, on the profit side of things.
Yeah.
And you trying to lead, you know, your team more towards, you know, the people side of things, like, you know, while you still have the pressure, from your manager on the profit side. How do you balance, the people and profit in this kind of scenario?
Right. So what you're looking at today is just an introduction to this care and growth model. The longer version of it, which is the leadership excellence course that we provide, what we say in that is it's an incremental approach. And that's why it goes so well with the incremental team, because they believe in incremental learning as well. You can't change the world overnight. So even with your approach to your team, you change it incrementally. So in this case that you're talking about, do you have a specific example where you've seen this play out? Any specific interaction?
I think it's just more, in general, I mean, I am working with an awesome team, but I think sometimes it's just really hard to balance, because as a company, you need to think about, profit and all that. I personally come from a marketing background. So say, for example, when you run a marketing campaign and, you spend extra amount of money, and then you're expecting, to see the profit and the results, and, and on the other hand, say I have to, if a campaign didn't do well, then I have the pressure from my manager that goes like, and then I'm trying to, work with my team under that pressure, from my manager, and then be like, it's just, I think it's a bit of a challenging situation sometimes, I think, to balance that, where you have the expectations that you get things fixed like in a certain time frame, and but you're trying to obviously not pass that pressure on to your team.
Yeah, and I think just saying it's a bit of a challenge is an understatement. That this is the reality for most of us in corporate workplaces, because this is a challenge faced at every level. My suggestion here would be, so because this is a massive flip in how we view our responsibilities as leaders. I mean, for such a long time, I used to put in my resume, I am a results-focused, outcomes-oriented people's person. And now that I've gone through this training, and now that I'm a believer in the Schuitema care and growth model, I can no longer say that, because it doesn't apply anymore. So my suggestion here in your challenging case is that, so let's go back to the coaching example. Of course, a coach has to keep their eye on the scoreboard. They have to know what's happening. So in your case, you're keeping an eye on the charts, the profits, what's going on. However, the primary concern needs to be the care and growth of the people in your team. If you allow them to get better, even 1% better. So there's an example of the 1% aggregates, which comes to us from the British cycling team, not the rowing team, but they did something similar too. You improve 1% in every aspect that you can. So if you help them get to that, then the profits will take care of themselves. And when Schuitema has gone in and helped teams through the team excellence programs, the team's output has just gone through the roof in many cases, because the team leader, rather than concerning themselves with the scoreboard first and foremost, they've concerned themselves with the care and growth of their team members. The team members concern themselves with the scoreboard. That becomes their primary concern. And paradoxically, it just increases the output quite a lot.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Has. I think, do you have any suggestions, as in, how do you communicate that sort of back to your manager? Because I mean, if you are, say, the director of the company, and because you're on the sort of the top of the pyramid, and of course, you have a bit more freedom, to apply this kind of leadership. But say when you are sort of in the middle, and if the person above you doesn't think in the same way, and you sort of still have the pressure, to perform, so do you have any suggestions on that one?
Hire Schuitema. Let them do your cultural transformation. Let them come in and bring it to your whole group. So you've been exposed to the care and growth model as yourself as an individual, and I guarantee that this will start changing your thinking over the next few days and weeks. It takes a whole lot longer for the change to take place for a bigger group. And I know how change works. I've, like I was saying earlier, I've cut my teeth in change management, organizational change. But it starts with you. So now that you've been exposed to this kind of thinking, start looking at the way you interact with people and where you can inject this kind of thinking that your primary concern is the care and growth of the people in your charge, and see how this starts changing your interaction with them.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Has. It's helpful.
Just as a quick one to add to Eugenia's comment there, it's really tough if you've got a results-oriented line manager. But ultimately, the answer is that it's a culture where people learn from mistakes. You don't learn when things go well. You learn when something doesn't go well. Yeah. And that's the opportunity that's so often missed. It's a huge opportunity cost. And when you get a senior leadership that understand that and say, look, even if the financial outcome is a bit of a problem, let's make sure we leverage that situation to get better. That's how you get better, is to actually analyze what happened. And that care given to people is through the act of helping them learn. Yeah. It's the learning that is the growth. And to me, it's got to come from above your line manager, Eugenia, but it's really tough when you've got somebody in that old mindset of, you've wasted some money.
Look, the thing is, thinking of care and growth, it's a lot like being a parent. So for those of us in this virtual room today who are parents would know what I'm saying, that being a parent isn't all about being nice. It's not about being nice or nasty, soft or hard, dictatorial or democratic. It's about the intent. It goes all the way back to the intent. As a parent, your intention is to care for and grow your child, no matter what needs to be done. Sometimes you're harsh with them. Sometimes you're very generous with them. Sometimes you compromise. Sometimes you negotiate. Sometimes you just tell them what needs to be done, and it's got to be done. Otherwise, there are consequences. And that's what I love about this care and growth model. It goes deeper than behavioral modeling around autocratic leadership all the way to servant leadership. You can choose to be in any one of those styles, but it's your intent that people can see right through you. If you can cultivate the intent within yourself to care for and grow your subordinates, they will see that in anything you do, whether you're being harsh with them, whether you're being soft with them. And that's the thing that you've got to remember. It's about the intent. So let me show you my last slide, then I'll stop and I'll hand it back to all of us, and we can have a much more informal discussion. Can you guys still see my screen? No, I stopped sharing it.
Hey, in the meantime, Cam, what was the name of the book?
It's a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Okay.
It's a great book.
I love it.
I was thinking of putting it in chat so people can
How did we get Atomic Habits? I must have missed something. Yeah, the British cycling reference. Yeah, that is from Atomic Habits. Yeah, I was mixing it up with the British rowing team. What did they do? Oh, so one of those guys, so they won the Olympic gold medal in 2000 after I don't know how many decades of not winning any medals. And then one of those guys went on to form his own business consultancy. And he's called it, oh yeah, so he asked this one question of everyone. And the question is, will it make the boat go faster? So they reframed the whole thing. And I know I'm digressing, but I love this sort of stuff, right? Everywhere he goes, he teaches people to come up with that one question that will help them align their activities. So for the rowing team, it was all about, will it make the boat go faster? Should I carry protein bars with me when we're rowing? Well, will it make the boat go faster? Should I go hit the gym 2 hours in the morning? Yeah, it's likely to make the boat go faster, so go and do it. Should we all go out and celebrate once we've won a regional circuit and go hit the pub and have a few pints of beer? No, this is probably going to make us bloated and heavy, and it's going to make the boat go slower, so we're not going to do it. We're not going to have any alcohol, things like that. So that was the one question that they used to reframe everything that they did. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about something else, coming back on topic to care and growth. So at the Schuitema Group, there's quite a few offerings, and this is why the group is able to offer services to clients at any level, any and all levels. At the very core of it, it starts with the intent to give, to be a giver to others. And through the Personal Excellence course, we train people on cultivating a sense of gratitude and trust so that you become a giver to others. Through the Leadership Excellence course, and today you guys got a glimpse of it, we train leaders on the purpose of leadership and what having legitimate power means, because leadership ultimately is about your relationship with others through the context of power. In team excellence, we train teams on how to collaborate and build that culture of good citizenship. And in organizational excellence, we train companies to become value-adding organizations and cultivate a benevolent intent and serve a higher purpose. So that is it from me today. Let me stop sharing. And just one more thing I'm going to add is we have a course coming up for personal excellence. And for people in this group, in the incremental group, we have a discount. So I think, Jyoti, there's going to be an expression of interest up on the website shortly, if not already. And you guys can go check it out. Fill that out.
Already there. I'll put the link. Shaq is actually attending the course with ESCO. So he keeps calling me after the course every day and telling me things that his first sentence starts with, "Oh, it's blown my mind." And then he'll start telling me what happened.
Yeah, so Shaq is lucky enough to be spending time with DE at SCO right now. He's doing the Leadership Excellence course. There is a Personal Excellence course coming up, and I think the starting date is the 2nd of November, 2nd or 5th of November. I can't exactly remember, but if you fill out the EOI, which is on the incremental website, then we can get back to you, and then there will be a discount added to that. Other than that, you guys can find me on LinkedIn. There is only one Has Razwi, far as I know. There can be only one. So I'm easy to find. Or if you want to have a discussion, just send me an email on has@hasrazwi.com. That's an easy one to remember. I'll put that in the chat group.
Yeah, either put it in the chat, or if you have like a slide which says that, so we can take a snapshot.
I have a slide, but there were a few other slides I added just in case one of the Schuitema associates happened to jump in, because then they could talk to those slides. That didn't happen, but that's fine. That's how things go sometimes. So I don't know where the slide is. That's why I'm not showing it. So guys, my email address is in the chat group, and you can find me on LinkedIn if you put in Has Razwi. And I've already sent you the link to the EOI page or the incremental website. And now I'm done. You can all unmute yourselves, and we can all have a chat.
And you can stop recording, Has.
Thank you. I'll do that right now.
Olga, if you have any questions, comments,